Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Qatar for the Cup Series. Almost a Championship 5 is actually the round of 6, race 2. According to Kaya, we are live, so we will take that as gospel. And if it's not, then we've lost all the data from this race. But, you know, it is what it is, isn't it, ultimately? I am... Oh, hang on. Hang on, kids. Kaya is actually coming through here with a link. Look at that, what a boy. How do I copy that link then? Oh my goodness me. I'm sure this is entertaining for everyone else.
It's a great way to start off the stream.
Oh, isn't it just? Share, copy link. Oh, I'm so good. I'll even do a tweet now. What an awful start. I hope this doesn't happen next week. Paste, post, send now. Oh my god, what a mess. Cup Series chat, there you go, have some of that. I think we can begin. Welcome everybody to Qatar. And thank you, Kaya, for sending me the link because my equipment was not giving me anything. So we'll go straight into an onboard lap with Michel Goris. No, we won't, because I'm going to adjust the levels. What a start. What an absolute mess, Danny Quinn. I've not even introduced you yet. Let me put that to there so you can hear Michel's car. He's into turn 1 then. And, well, Michel will normally crash out or invalidate, so we'll talk about the situation at hand. Good evening, Danny. How are you, by the way? All is well in the world?
Yeah, it's going really well. Of course, we've got an exciting race here. Of course, still 4 places to decide for the Championship 5, which very, very interesting. I think it's, well, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the most places to be decided on last race of the postseason that we've had.
Probably. Can't say I know for sure because I don't have those records at hand, but I can tell you the man who's not here this week, Ben Harrett, with his win in France last week, automatically advances. So he puts his good buddy Jake O'Sullivan in a bit of a situation there where he is now outside of the zone where he needs to win. So Ben Harrett leads, believe it or not, and then Khalifa is, I believe, mathematically through. Casper Klein is 8 points to the good. Arnaud 1 point to the good. Jake O'Sullivan -1, and Corey Dalton, who must win. That's the playoff situation. And then the situation in the chase is that Ben Shaw is 16 points clear of Kieran, 17 clear of Leroy, and I believe 21 clear of Connor Byers, who has not turned up, which means if he doesn't before the end of qualifying, he is eliminated from the Season 8 chase. Other things you need to know: 1 joker tonight in the form of Pete Knighton. Stage points are laps 7 and 14. And it's a Cup Series debut for Qatar, a race which weighs 1 in the Kia Series. I crashed out of, and what happened to you?
I pitted when I didn't need to.
Ah, silly. Anyway, Michel went pole, a provisional pole. Jess, reserving for us tonight, has forgotten to open her DRS as well as she comes up to the line. That'll be a 1:23.6. And we'll move on then to Jamie Griffiths, who I believe equals a Cup Series record. Jamie Griffiths, 82 race starts, equals Jamie Wright's race start total of also 82. So that means next week, Championship 5, he will get the outright record, and it's a record that will never be beaten. Obviously, the news coming earlier in the week, or last week in fact, that JACKOCAR is coming to an end at the end of Season 10. So you've got 2 more races and 2 more seasons to look out for. December 2024 is when we shut our doors, and then the next league will take over, which I will have a small hand in. But JACKOCAR isn't going into retirement, let's say. There are plans for the future. Obviously, the podcasts still very popular. People want to do them, but maybe some more real life stuff. But more on that to come in the coming 12 months as let's finally, Danny, focus on qualifying this evening. Mike Kelterborn coming to the end of his lap. We will go on board with Yuri shortly after. And I think we're going to get a whole lap with Yuri, in fact, if we go quick enough. So we will. We're going to leave Mike, who will go P2. And let's look at a lap on board with Yuri Haselager then. Take it away, Danny Quinn.
Well, I was going to say it's actually risky coming up to the line first, but he invalidated. That would have put him P3. But now we can look at Yuri's. Goes through turn 4 now, through turn 5 as well. Of course, it is a very fast and flowing track, is Qatar. And you can have moments like that if you're not careful on the throttle. And of course you want to try and hug the inside and drift out just as you get past the apex. Looking fairly clean from Yuri so far, down to 30. You want to keep up the minimum speed. Then we get to a triple right-hander, which you can take fully flat, but the third of the right-handers is very difficult to take flat. It does lift off though. So not an optimal way through the triple right-hander, but he does invalidate just on the exit there of the penultimate corner, which is
not very
good.
It
is a shame because it looked like it was going to be a good lap. Would have put him P3, just 3 tenths behind Mike.
And from one invalidation in the form of Yuri Haselager to another, Sullivan Lewis, they got their grid slots, their qualifying slots mixed up. Yuri, not Yuri. Sullivan is pitting. And of course, it's a big day for Sullivan because it is 100 race starts in the Cup Series for the young man from, where is he? Mansfield, Grantham, something like that. And he's got the lucky draw and worked out who his teammate is already early doors, which is good to know. Something is a bit of a luxury. So we'll move on to Kieran, who is about to complete his lap. So Kieran making his way back from the north of England today in what the fuck is that? What an awful looking livery. I'm going to move on to Leroy. Where's Leroy? Yeah. There he is.
Leroy always has decent looking liveries, and
it's certainly better than Kieran's.
Not an exception. Yeah. Not an exception today. I actually quite like it. The green on the black. And of course you have to have the speed blue if you're a member of Team Speed.
Absolutely. It does look quite good. Almost like it's 2 different liveries merged into one. Very hybrid. And of course here in JACKOCAR we love anything hybrid. Unless it's a real-life hybrid car, in which case we hate electric power. Unless you have a proper ICE engine, no one is interested in this league. But we'll see Leroy come towards the end of his lap. Of course, Kieran going fastest a few seconds ago on a 1:21.2. DRS open for Leroy, something that Jess forgot to do. But where will he put himself here in Qatar? P2 for the moment. There's no Connor Byers, of course, so we'll go straight to chase leader Ben Shaw, eyeing up another Championship 5 visit. And should he make it tonight, that will be his, let me get this right, 5th Championship 5 appearance. But 4 visits so far and no wins. He had Miami in his hands until the rain come down. He had Saudi in his hands until the penalty came through. And he was nowhere near in Britain and Brazil. But is Las Vegas a place where Ben Shaw sees a title coming his way, coming home to Liverpool? Maybe, maybe not, but we will find out this time next week. Of course, don't forget the Championship 5 build-up comes to you live from 5 p.m. on December 14th, followed immediately by however many laps of Las Vegas it's going to be. Obviously, being the professional that I am, I know exactly how many laps that is, don't I, Danny?
Yeah, of course you do. I wouldn't expect any less from you.
Yep, good. A race that you won as well, a race that I was P2 at just a couple of weeks ago in the Kia Series, so we know how to get it done around there. But here's Ben Shaw then in the final corner. Where will he put his car? You would expect it to be somewhere towards the top. He's been up there with Khalifa all season and Jake O'Sullivan. Benshaw goes P2, leaving Kieran on the front row for the moment. So next up is what would be the cut-off line for the playoff drivers. Of course, the first couple are reserves, and then the couple after that have been knocked out. But this is Michael O'Keke off the back of 2 podiums in a row in the Kia Series. So he's starting to find form as the Kia guys look to go into Season 7 in February. And having another run out in Cup here, Michael O'Keke.
Yeah, that didn't look optimal through the triple right-hander. As a massive snap of oversteer through the penultimate corner there, through the final corner now. It's nicely over the curb. It's looking like, other than the snap and triple right-hander, it looks clean, but 124.1, I'm going to eat my words.
Unlucky for Michael.
Now we're on to Pete Knight, the Joker for tonight.
Well, we should be on board Waze, actually, but he...
Oh, Waze.
So Pete's already started his lap, and Waze... So
was it Waze missing his, or was it Pete coming out early?
It's either or. Technically, it should be Waze next. Oh, I don't know who to follow here. What a mess this qualifying has been. Hopefully the race is slightly better. We'll focus on Waze, because he won here in the Kia Series, a race which I threw away. Not that I've already mentioned that. A race which you pitted when you shouldn't have. And Waze was there to steal the spoils. One of his 3 victories, I believe, so far this season. Of course, it's he, you, I, Jess and Lesty all fighting for a title on Tuesday night when we head off to Spa in Belgium. A track which the people would say favours me. But of course, you and Waze have been the standout pair in the Kia Series. And then you've got the uncertainty of Matt Lester and Jessica Bull. What will they do? Who knows? I wouldn't like to put any money on it, because that could go absolutely any which way. But here's Waze up to the line, and he goes P4. Pete Knighton, by the way, the Joker, went P6. That means, hopefully, Gareth has got his time slot right.
Yeah, he is about coming up halfway around the track, so it seems like he's got it right. So yeah, Gareth is very apt delivery from him, having checkered flag and some flames, hoping that they'll maybe make him go faster. Probably not.
Just be careful what you say, Danny, because he will rip you to bits on Tuesday if you don't win the title.
I know. I am fully aware.
But Gareth, by the way, earlier in the week was saying he absolutely detests this track. And where will he go in qualifying? P7, so expect him to drop down ever so slowly as we are now into, I would say, the Big Six, but there's an obscure name there in the eyes of Decker Cornley. We'll come to him after we've been on board with Corey Dalton in a must-win situation. Don't forget, 1 corner to go. If he wins, he will knock Jake O'Sullivan and Arnaud out, unless Arnaud can somehow overcome the deficit to Casper. But Corey has used his ERS up, but he will go P2. So Kieran's still with the best time so far. What about Deck? What can he do?
Yeah, I was going to mention about Corey. We know what it's like when it's a must-win situation. He always delivers.
Yeah, you just have to look back to Austria Season 3. He needed to win. He won, got through. Certainly did everything he needed to on that day. And here is Decker Cornley then over the line. Good lap from him, P6. But now the Big Four. Arnaud, don't invalidate. He has a reputation for doing so. That red, black and gold livery that he runs, you normally see it going fast, and then all of a sudden the mini-map in the bottom right corner lights up red. Instead, it's lighting up purple. Is this a lap that is going to dethrone Kieran, hopefully dethrone Kieran from P1, and it goes all red like we promised you. So Arnaud will have to start no higher than P16 in Qatar, a race where he really needs to get it done. And speaking of people who need to get it done, -1 to Arnold is Jake O'Sullivan, sits outside of the automatic promotion zone, which would put him into another Championship 5. The two-time champion, Jake O'Sullivan, really struggling in the last handful of races. What can he do in Qatar? He's not in a must-win, but he's in a position where he really needs to beat two of the fastest drivers to get in. And he's not having the smooth sailing season or end of postseason that you've had along with Waze in the Kia series. He's made it look difficult, has Jake. Bit of unfortune, couple of crashes, and the regular season champion finds himself really, really low down. -1, he never would have expected it coming in, but 2 corners to go on his qualifying lap in Qatar. There's somebody I've not spoken to this week. Normally I do speak to the drivers, so I don't know how he's feeling, but Jake, into the final corner he comes. Still has some ERS left, unlike many drivers that have come before. DRS is open and up to the line for Jake O'Sullivan. He goes P1. It's a massive lap. Kieran's down to P2. But what about Casper and Khalifa that we are left with?
Yeah, I didn't get time to mention it, but I was looking on board with Arnaud as he crossed the line. He would have beaten Kieran's time by 5 tenths if he didn't invalidate.
Wow. It just goes to show, doesn't it? And Arnold has been fast as well.
Yeah, it's definitely. But Casper's took the triple right-hander absolutely beautifully, did Casper. And yeah, it's looking like a very strong lap here. He is in a similar situation. He does have ERS all the way to the line.
P2. Good.
Very close.
Good lap.
Very, very close.
Casper, of course, eyeing up a first Championship 5 appearance, something he has been knocked out of the round of 6 3 or 4 times now. But what about Khalifa? The man with 7 poles this season, the record all-time pole sitter with 22, the season 3 champion. Can he get anywhere near Jake O'Sullivan's time? He heads to the line. Jake O'Sullivan, P1, and by Jake O'Sullivan I mean Khalifa El Khalifa. I'm just so used to saying it. But Khalifa, another point there. It almost guarantees that he will be fighting for that title in Las Vegas next week. Another point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's there anyway, but my standings say he is +17. He's now +18. And Jake O'Sullivan, that's, by the way, that point that he lost is a massive point. It's a point that would have put him back in to the Championship 5 because he would have gone level with Arnaud on points, and then he would have been ahead on countback. So that's a massive point that he's lost out on there.
Yeah, it is. And something that I just found a bit interesting is that the top 7 qualifying are all fighting for a spot in the Championship 5.
Is that so? Tell you what, Danny, give us a rundown because I've got to do some stats here.
So, of course, we have Khalifa in P1, 4 attempts ahead of Jake O'Sullivan. Then we have Casper in P3, Kieran in P4, Corey in P5, Ben Shaw in P6, Leroy P7, Wace in P8 with Deck in 9th, Jamie in 10th. Then we have...
And stop there, because you know what we say about the bottom 10? Useless. No, useless. Absolutely shit. Look at them all down there. Arnold especially. That is not what you need to be doing. P18.
I mean, look at those 2 speed drivers down there as well. God,
I'm saying
many times.
I'm not getting involved in your your off-track disputes. We are now up to 14 viewers, by the way. It took a little bit of time to get going, didn't it? Just stuck around 1 or 2 viewers for most of qualifying, but I'm sure they all joined to hear me say that Jake O'Sullivan crossed the line on pole. I got it wrong, it was Khalifa. But because it's elimination night, we'll recap the situation and what is important to know. So Ben Harrett not here, already advanced. Khalifa +18. Dare say he is in He is going to be fighting for a second title next week. Casper Klein, +8. Arnaud de Grief at the last second, saved by Khalifa, +1. Jake O'Sullivan, -1. Corey Dalton must win. In the chase, Ben Shaw has a 16-point lead to Kieran, 17 to Leroy, 21 to Connor Byers, who has not turned up, so he is now eliminated. There are only 8 drivers left this season that can win the title, and only 3 slots available. Of course, 2 of them already filled up in the form of Ben Harrett and Khalifa El Khalifa. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Qatar? I mean, Kia Series did an alright job here. Gareth would say otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, it's a track that just decimates your fuel. That's one thing that you can definitely say about this track. You're going to have to be very careful with your fuel around here. Of course, there's no heavy braking zones, technically, so they're all medium to high-speed corners. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys can handle it. And that is... who's that who's just stormed off?
It's Mr. Lewis.
Risky,
but, yeah. Of course, race 100 for Sullivan, so we will let this slide as we always do because we're super lenient. He has already made 100 starts in the league. Of course, 12 starts in the Kia Series, so this is actually 112 for him in total. But it's 100 Cup Series starts, 1 race win to his name. You may remember Austria Season 2. Where he had the assistance of Mr. Knighton, who held up the field behind. It saw Sullivan go all the way into the playoffs. Unfortunately, he made nothing more of it. But it would be so good to see him back on top. And of course, with other drivers fighting for their own routes, basically, to get into the Championship 5, the focus on winning the race is not so great. There'd be races like this, the Championship 5 itself, they become easier to win. Unless, of course, your name is Corey Dalton, in which case you must win to advance. He lines up P5. There's Kieran's awful car right in front of Corey. But a good point raised by you, Danny Quinn. The top 7 all looking to make the Championship 5. Khalifa is already there. And here they go. They all line up. Stage points come at lap 7 and lap 14. They are crucial. You can also get a point for the fastest lap, the most laps led, and for being second and third on the podium. You have to pick.
Are you seeing the same thing that I am on the grid?
No.
Kieran's
I will worry about it. I will worry about it later, because we're about to go racing in Qatar. Khalifa and Jake O'Sullivan on the front row. They're joined by Casper and Kieran behind. Kieran, I think you're referring to him starting very central on the grid, but they all get away cleanly. Khalifa and Jake into turn 1, and it's Jake who leads the way, but Khalifa has the outside line. There's going to be a bit of argy-bargy as they head into 2, but it's Khalifa who has retained the lead on the race start. Position changes further back. It's Leroy and Ben, as we see 2 go out. Mike Kelterborn and Jamie Griffiths. That will bring out a safety car early doors. Jamie Griffiths on his record night of 82 race starts. He'll have to come back next week and make it 83, but that rounds off a season, near enough a season anyway, that has not gone his way. Same for Mike Kelterborn, and the Joker driver of Pete Knighton is in P17. I'm not sure if there's any damage, I should say, but Arnaud, importantly, has made up positions.
Yeah, he has, and there was some fighting going on between Leroy and Ben Shaw, which those 2 were very close off the line. They got identical starts and they're going side by side. It was very interesting to see those 2 go side by side, and Corey has done well to be in P4. Kieran has dropped down, leave 1 position, and yeah, it's really Yuri, even though KK's made up 4 positions, albeit 2 of them are from Mike and Jamie dropping out of the race, but Michael Okeke's had a pretty good start, albeit we had 3 corners of racing.
I don't even think we got as far as 3, did we? But I'm in the Cup Series chat now, and I can tell you that Jamie Griffiths is blaming Decker Cornley. Called him a bell end. Take from that what you will. I see Deck is P10. And Mike Kelterborn saying that was a fun race. He's waited all season to race it, and he got as far as turn 2, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, about turn 2, yeah.
As far as the playoff and chase picture is concerned, it doesn't affect anything. Those 2 were already eliminated. I was going to talk about pit stops before the race started there, before you rudely interrupted me trying to talk about Kieran. No one cares. Pit stops, you can make 1 before the end of lap 14, and you can make your other one thereafter, so 15 onwards, or you can make both of them after lap 15. It means you can do 1 pit stop under a safety car legally, and then 1 has to be done under green flag racing. What else was I going to say? You cannot follow the safety car in, and pitting on lap 1 and 2 would mean it's a non-mandatory stop. MK Bourne leaves the session. We'll see you next week in Las Vegas. I think we had the one taker, Mr. Lewis, onto the hard, or from the hard to the soft tyres. At least he's still in this race.
Yeah, it's interesting they start.
Oh, have you just muted yourself, Mr. Quinn?
Nope.
Oh. Interested that he start, and then you stop talking.
Right, yeah, it's interesting they started on the hard tyres. You'd think only, well, Pete would start on the hard tyres. Being a joker, he can go hard medium, or even hard soft if he can extend. Well, yeah, starting on the hards when you're not on a joker, well, we've seen it plenty of times in the other series that both of us racing. From a certain...
Ooh, hang on. I'm going to interrupt this broadcast because I've had... I mean, you'll know who's just texted me, whoever you are. I don't know what your phone... I don't know what your name is, but I've had a random text message. If your number ends 524, please tell me who you are, because I have no idea who you are. But they have asked in a text, is Jake currently good? Jake O'Sullivan. He's currently P2. I guess that's mildly good. It's currently good enough to see him through to the Championship 5. But yes, if you've just sent me that text message, I have no idea who you are. I would assume Kyle Smith, but I could be wrong. Sorry, Danny, you're wondering what's going on. So am I, to be totally honest with you. Danny Quinn's muted himself again, dickhead. So it looks like I'm here all by myself, viewers. He's back.
I'm still here.
Where did you go?
I've always been here.
Ah, you missed the excitement of me getting a text from a random number. Stop fucking muting yourself.
I'm not muting myself.
I need your attention because I run out of things to say. Oh dear. What else can I talk about?
Safety car coming in.
The safety car's coming in, fantastic. Right, we'll get back to normal then. Khalifa has led the opening 3 laps, which, if you're interested, viewers, takes him up to 389 all-time, which is second only to Arnaud de Grief on 476. Yes, he was good once. He also almost won last week. I wasn't here. Owen Wyatt and Jamie Griffiths were in the box. But I did happen to see live on stream Arnaud throw away a victory, and it gift his rival Ben Harrott a free pass into the Championship 5.
But I also led a lap that race.
Yes, I noted. I had to write your name down, but I had to scroll all the way to the bottom to update your stats. Oh, you love coming in the box with me, don't you? Anyway, more importantly, the drivers should be obeying single file rules, but Khalifa's been and caught him out anyway, and Corey has made up another position, but here comes Casper back through on the inside, and Kieran looks like he wants to get involved. Corey recognises that and leaves the door wide enough open for 3 cars to get round, and Khalifa has pulled away a little bit from Jake, and Leroy has made the gap over Ben Shaw. But let's go on board with Ben Shaw as he's seeing entertainment happening right in front of him here. It's got tears written all over it as Kieran starts to fall back in that awful looking livery, and contact between Ben and Kieran, something that Team Speed have been doing a lot more recently. OKK makes a move on Gareth further back. Gareth's going to try and hold the inside, and OKK will run wide, but there's contact once again, and Gareth puts Michael and KK into a spin. The man who hates Qatar has made an enemy as well. Maybe that'll come back and bite him in the bum later on as OKK recovers. But there's now a big gap between Gareth and Yuri, who's driving away and is part of this lead pack. Casper is on the back of Jake, who is falling away from Khalifa as they all run wide through whatever turn number that is, and into the final corner they come then. Corey is P4. And we see early stops from Leroy and his brother Yuri.
Yeah, and we have both Arnold and Jess also coming in. So 4 stoppers on the end of lap 4, that is. We'll have to see if any of them are stacking.
Waze is getting a fantastic view of this battle, which is continuing. It's Ben and Kieran through turn 2, and Kieran holding on. Through they go through 3, and this is the run down to 4 where Gareth was starting to eye up OKK before there was inevitable contact. But Way's looking good so far. He is on the softer tyre compared to the 2 guys in front of him. Gets right up close to Ben Shaw's arsehole, but he's got a nice gap behind him to Gareth, of course. Obviously Yuri was in that before he pitted. Let's take another view on board of Waze as the other 2 are now single file, at least for the moment. Pete Knighton has made his way up to P11 after starting fairly low down. Let's go with Corey.
Something that I noticed during the pit stop phase, well, the pit stops, was, well, firstly, Arnold is now on the hard tyres, and secondly, he had to change his front wing. So he had a little bit of contact, and yeah, was missing his front left end plate.
Interesting. I wonder if that was from the opening lap, of course, where Deck and Jamie and Mike were all involved. I've just seen a comment from Kaya in the chat. Will Khalifa help Corey out? I feel like this is not the right time of the season to help out one of the fastest drivers on the grid.
No.
It's all well and good letting your rivals take a race win in Miami. Isn't that right, Danny?
Oh, yeah.
But letting them win when it's a Championship 5 next week, absolutely not. Khalifa will do everything he can to win this race. Helping Corey is not going to be at the forefront of his mind. If it was a regular season, maybe. And we see yellow flags as Pete is dropping down the field. That was Deck that was behind him. Maybe Deck getting involved in another incident. But Peter will recover. It won't help his situation. He'll be looking for a safety car, I'm sure, at some point, but maybe later in the race, because lap 6 is very, very early. Do you remember sort of what laps the mediums went to when we raced here?
I've got no idea.
Likewise, we'll move on from that then. Pretend we knew what we were talking about. Arnaud has made his way up past Jess. We see Waze pit early on. Of course, the softs do go off here. That's something I do know. And the situation is that Casper is passing Jake O'Sullivan for P2 then.
Yeah, took the opportunity from Casper, well, from Jake, I believe, not having the DRS on Khalifa. And yeah, that's a very big position in the for
in the playoff
C5
picture
position.
Yeah,
very big move there.
As it stands,
I do believe he's still maybe through.
Well, this is what I'm about to say. As it stands, we're looking back from Casper's view. As it stands, it's Corey and Arnaud that are eliminated.
Yeah.
Arnaud really needs to sort himself out down there in P14. He should be in this battle at the front, but of course that invalidation in qualifying has put him right in the midfield where all the dramas happen, and of course an early wing change. It has not gone his way in the opening 7 laps here, but Corey is starting to see Jake catch back up to Casper, and for a short period of time in that lap, Casper was inside of Khalifa's DRS, so we do have a race on our hands. And it is Corey who is the man who needs to win. He will not care about stage points. They're not going to do anything for him. But Jake O'Sullivan to the inside of Casper. What about Corey? Look at the overspeed. Will he throw it down the inside? No, he won't. Thinks better of it. He knows that there is still 3/4 of this race to go. But that is another move made for Corey as Casper loses out on 2 positions on the main straight. Pete Knighton now back up to P8 as we see Gareth Pitt. OKK has recovered to P9. From his spin with Gareth, who even if he did advance from Mexico, he probably would have been eliminated anyway. Look at this here. The battle for P2 is really heating up. Danny Quinn, talk us through it.
Yeah, he was really going for an audacious move, and he's just doing everything to try and put the pressure on to Corey, but Corey lives for these pressure moments. He always performs when he's under pressure, and yeah, although this fighting is extending the gap to Khalifa even more, it's now 3 seconds. So Khalifa doesn't really need to worry about, well, anyone behind him at the moment. As
Corey Pitts, he gets that. Yeah, and crucially, by the way,
I don't really care about that.
Yuri's not in the picture, unfortunately, but that gap, by the way, had extended by 2 seconds in a single lap between first and second. So Corey getting out of the train is absolutely the right thing to do, but it does leave Casper on his own. What can he do now that there's no fast drivers around him to fight? He has looked good so far, and the gap already coming down to Khalifa as I have wind in my digestive system. Risky Racer up to P7. Race 100, remember. And he's been looking quite fast this season, has Sullivan. Usually he has one good race a season, but he showed many more glimpses thus far. And did Jake have a wing change? He must have done, because Corey is way out in P9. So Jake changing the playoff picture then once again. As it stands, he goes out. It's Arnaud and Casper now go through.
Yeah, 4.3 seconds is a gap between Jake and Arnaud, and of course Arnaud's stop was legal, and he did have a wing change himself, so yeah, this is, well, though Arnaud's tyres are 4 laps older, is still, well, they both made the same amount of stops, so this is fighting for track position here, and it looks like Casper's responding to Corey and Jake P.
Yeah, I am aware there's a battle into turn 1, by the way, but we are staying on board with Arnaud through this fast section. I say this fast section, because the whole track is bloody rapid as we follow Sullivan through. You are expecting Arnaud to make an easy DRS move as he fills the mirrors of Sullivan. Lewis, something's happened. Danny Quinn.
Corey and Yuri just weaving across the main straight. Corey turns in and actually makes contact with Yuri. Just gives him a little love tap to say, I'm here, get out of my way. And he's got past him, but Casper is seemingly miles ahead of Corey.
Way up the road, and that's after a pit stop as well. So it does leave Khalifa out there, the lead front-running car without a stop. Of course, the likes of Iceman and Kieran and Pete also yet to stop. So yeah, it has just for the moment settled down. Let's go back with Kieran. Ugly car. As we see Khalifa pit then.
Yeah, Khalifa's responding to
Casper
obviously
here.
Casper. So yeah, it's not gonna be too close. I'd have to say it will probably be around a 2.5-3 second gap, similar to before the stops from everyone. But yeah, Ben Shaw takes over the lead of the race, so potentially we'll see some laps led here from Ben.
Yep, Khalifa led the first 9, Ben led the 10th, and here comes Casper. Can he get out anywhere near Khalifa? Absolutely not. Khalifa is miles clear. Remember, that gap was 3.1 seconds before. It's now pretty much the same, isn't it? The difference is that Pete is in the middle as Corey sets the fastest lap down in P7. He's all over the back of Kieran, and Waze, interestingly enough, is in this fight. Of course, he pitted earlier from the softs to the mediums. He has been very good, Waze. We know he's a proven race winner around here, only because I gave it away. But yeah, so Waze in the battle for what could potentially be a podium later on. That would be his best ever Cup Series result. But Khalifa seems to have it in hand.
It'll be a very good result from him, and only being a second behind Corey. Although Corey must have lost time somehow in the pit stop phase.
And here is, by the way, Casper looking and eyeing up Pete Knighton, trying to get back what is his net P2 position. Through the fast right-hander they go, and then it'll be a up the downshift. There it is, into the left-hander. And Casper just waiting for the DRS now. Let's go on board with him. It should be nice and easy. Handful of penalties out for drivers like Leroy, Yori, Risky and OKK. And here goes Casper up into P2. Leroy is eliminated from the chase. We have a VSC. Ben Shaw's night gets a little bit easier. It's now just Ben Shaw and Kieran Spears left in the chase. But what happened to Leroy as we are upgraded to a full safety car? And look at the gap that Ben Shaw has to Khalifa, 21 seconds.
And of course, the safety car hasn't actually caught it hasn't caught him. He was way past the pit exit when the safety car came out, so he can essentially get a free pit stop there.
Yeah, which he is entitled to do.
He will actually be net race. Well, he actually will be the race leader.
Yeah, he should come out in the lead, should Ben Shaw. We're currently on board Khalifa. So it's going to close everybody up. But what does Pete Knighton do? Hard tyres. Is it too early for the mediums? My instinct is telling me yes.
Yes, definitely.
So he's going to have to hope for a later safety car.
Looking at the field spread, he could potentially keep it out a couple laps. He can, depends how long the safety car stays out. But looking at the field spread, he could wait a couple laps and then go into the box.
Khalifa is going to lose his delta in a second.
Yeah, he is.
So
he's lost it, I think. He's lost it.
Oh,
he's going to get out ahead.
He is. Ben Shaw has to get that car fired up. Casper will overtake him, so Ben Shaw could have done with an extra couple of seconds there, but he will not be mad. He knows Connor Byers didn't turn up. He also knows Leroy Haselager is out of this race, and Kieran Spears is behind him on track. He needs to be 17 points clear of Ben by the end of tonight if he has any hope to make the C5. It's in Ben's hand to win the chase. The playoff picture, however, is currently looking like Casper and Arnaud. So Jake O'Sullivan with another pit stop. That's a non-mandatory, by the way.
Yeah.
Jake O'Sullivan.
He's used the safety car. Well,
no, he pitted under green earlier. That's why he still has safety car stop in hand. Yeah. But Jake O'Sullivan, the two-time champion, the reigning champion of the Cup Series, facing elimination, but has utilised the non-mandatory rule to put himself on better tyres than Arnaud de Grief.
Yeah, Pete as well. He's pitted on to mediums as well, so he's probably going to be going to the end on these tyres. Whereas Jake will have to pit again, and you'd imagine that he'd pit onto a set of softs. And he's probably hoping for another safety car to come out, ideally for him to take full advantage of it.
Sorry, I just had to do a quick VAR check there. You're absolutely right, Mr. Quinn. VAR check complete. Ben Shaw did indeed lead lap 12. Khalifa retakes it on lap 13. Michel Goris for a change, still running. We've not seen much of him this evening. Eliminated first from the chase.
All this season, for a fact.
All this season. He's really trying his best to get back into the Kia series. Oh, pardon me. But the thing is, Michel is actually a very good driver. And I think he will probably end up being
sandbagging.
Yeah. There's Michael OKK pits. It's nice to see Michael regain his form of late. The idea of him dropping into the Kia series was to get that confidence back up, get him back on the way to podiums and race wins. He hasn't had a race win this season, but 2 podiums in a row. I think he had a podium earlier in the season as well. He's definitely getting back to where he belongs, and if he can win a race in Kia, maybe a return to the Cup Series in Season 10 for Michael Okeke, fighting it and mixing it with the big boys. It'd be good to see him make a Championship 5 in Kia next season as well. Obviously, as mentioned earlier, the Kia C5 is set. Danny Quinn, Waze Cuba, Jess Bull, Matt Lester and myself, Jack Ricketts, your 5 Championship 5 drivers in Spa on Tuesday night. And what it does, Danny, is it guarantees a brand new champion. It ends the reign of Dutch champions that we've had. Thank God.
Dude.
I don't care who wins, as long as they're British. Or even better, English, because if we have a Welsh winner, that'd be a bit sus.
Yeah, and you just know Wace won't shut up about it if he wins.
This is it. Of course, previous...
Same with anyone, really. Apart from Jess.
Jess would be a good champion.
Yeah.
Definitely. Previous...
Safety car in this lap.
Previous champions of the Kia series, of course, Christian Hataro in Season 1, Nils Havakat in that incredible Portuguese Championship 5.
We don't talk about that.
Then we had Jori Hazelaga, his first of 2. His brother Leroy stole it on the final lap in Season 4 in Miami, and then Jori reclaimed it in Season 5, and then, of course, now Season 6 awaits us. Just, what is it? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 days away. And we're only 7 days away from the Cup Series Championship 5. Who joins Ben Harrett and Khalifa El Khalifa? Khalifa will lead the field round for the second restart this evening. He will also win Stage 2. He's swept every single point tonight, and away he goes then. We are 50% race distance away from finding out who joins him and Ben Harrett as the cars file into Turn 1. He's followed closely by Casper and Ben Shaw. Kieran is behind. Corey, who needs to win the race, is P5, and they've gapped Risky and Waze and Yuri behind. So let's focus on this battle for what is going to be P2, because Khalifa is pulling away fantastically as they head on down towards Turn 4, and this will sweep them into Turn 5 behind that. Ben Shaw, what can he do on his big day out in Qatar? It's Kieran who needs to do the big business and win, or be ahead of him by 17 points. It's a hell of an ask. It means winning the race or stealing a handful of playoff points as Waze picks up a penalty. Kieran's starting to fall away along with Corey, but Casper and Ben have maintained the gap to race leader Khalifa through the first sector. We're in the middle of the second sector now. Arnault has worked his way up to P8 on those older, hard tyres, and Jake O'Sullivan, who is on the fresh mediums, is right behind. Pit stops, legal pit stops at least, can begin at the end of this lap. I wonder if we'll get any takers as we're in the final couple of corners. Arnaud looking lively all over the back of Waze, but so will Jake O'Sullivan. And a position here, 1 point gained on Arnaud, is a route into the Championship 5. Here comes Jake O'Sullivan. ERS will be wide open, but so is Arnaud as he tries to hunt down Waze. Jake, for a place in the Championship 5, moves ahead of Arnaud into turn 1. That's an important position. Can he stay there? We have 14 laps to go as Waze runs wide at turn 1. Into turn 2 they go. He's retained his position. Meanwhile, Ben Shaw has got ahead of Casper Klein, who is now falling back behind Kieran. Corey needs to start making the move. Danny Quinn.
Yeah.
You've muted yourself. Useless. You try and put on a show for the people and he just, rubbish.
Headset's playing up, but yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Casper there. I think he must have had a little bit of an incident or a half spin. Oh yeah, he's dropped back and quite far behind.
Sorry to interrupt, but Jake is eyeing up a move on Waze Cuba here as they head into what is now Sector 3. But Jake has to just be a bit more patient, because if he throws it away, it's an open door for Arnaud to advance into another Championship 5. How many has Arnaud been to now? He's been to 3, but he's never won one. Yellow flags. We see Yuri dropping down the field. Let's go off board and see what Jake can do as we run down towards turn 1. DRS is enabled once again. Jake all over the back of Waze, and now Arnaud is being trailed by Pete Knight as he goes defensive. But Jake tries to make the move, and that's another point gained on Arnaud, who is now in a position where he really needs something special to come his way. By the way, no takers on pit stops on lap 15 or 16, as we are status quo from where we were. Arnaud ahead of Waze. That's a move he needs to make, but he needs to make one more. He needs to be ahead of Jake O'Sullivan. Remember, the gap is -1 between these two. But Jake would advance on countback. So as it stands, he is +1 as we move back towards the lead. And it's Ben Shaw who is keeping Khalifa company. Is this a sign of things to come when we head to Las Vegas in 7 days' time? Kieran is doing a good job, but it's not good enough. He needs Ben Shaw to crash out and then to gain 17 points himself. Khalifa has swept all 3 playoff points so far this evening.
Yeah, if he does manage to get every single playoff point, it will be the second time it's ever been done in JACKOCAR.
And who did it first, Danny?
I think it was myself.
Stop fucking bragging. Anyway, here is Iceman. He's going to try and make a move on Khalifa for the race win. He does it before lap 17 even begins. Lap 18, my mistake. But new race leader, Ben Shaw. And the chase champion-elect is making sure that these playoff drivers know that it's going to be a 5-car race and not a 4-car race next week. Thank you to those of you who are still with us enjoying this one. Elimination night in JACKOCAR, the round of 6, race 2. It's all on the line here as Iceman leads from Khalifa. Kieran will be seeing that chase title fall out of his grip. Of course, having a race ban will not help proceedings, and having Casper right behind you, eyeing up an overtake, also doesn't help things. And Corey is just out of the picture. He's in no man's land down in P5. He needs something special to happen as we see Yuri pit from 16th. He's a long way back. He's in turn 1 at the moment. What else is going on? We see Arnaud and Pete Knighton. By the way, Pete Knighton getting past Arnaud. Jake is up the road,
Risky.
And there's yellow flags. Risky has spun, but it won't bring out a safety car. He faces the right way once again, and now there's just a car between Arnaud and Jake.
Yeah, that was big. The fact that, Sully unfortunately spun round is big for Arnaud, because now he's just got P9, but Arnaud is pitting. 10 laps left. Not sure what tyre he's going to be going on to, but going back to the front, we've got 2 moves at the front. Got Casper getting past Kieran. We've got also Khalifa getting back past Ben Shaw.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm just confirming who led the lap. I may have to forget counting the laps led and actually focus on the race for a bit. Because that's probably more important. But we still have a fight on our hands here between Khalifa and Ben. And like you say, Casper ahead of Kieran. But Kieran's still very much there. And as it stands, Casper and Jake O'Sullivan advance to the Championship 5. As it stands, of course. Still a lot can change in the remaining 10.5 laps. That's all we have left here as we see Jess complete her strategy as she comes out the pits in P16. Michelle is 14th and Arnaud is 13th. Deck still in the running. Granny on speed dial just in case he wins. P12 for him. Risky 100 race starts in P11. OKK starts the top 10 if you will. Then Gareth and Waze and Pete. Jake, Corey, Kieran, Casper, Ben Shaw and Khalifa putting on a show this evening. As we go to see another move. Here comes Kieran. Casper up into P2 as we see Iceman pit along with Corey. So Kieran moves into P2 for now.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting for me at least to see when Jake actually pits. Unless he's trying to stay out for a safety car, I personally wouldn't risk that, and I'd pit in probably the next two. Well, I would have pit the next lap immediately after Arnaud, but he did have a bit of a buffer, so maybe he's just going to pit at the end of this or the next lap for a set of softs.
And of course, Jake can still make his second mandatory stop under a safety car. A lot of the other drivers cannot. A good handful can. I couldn't tell you exactly who. But Jake is, importantly, one of those drivers that can. Let's quickly go to the stop situation. There it is. 2 stops for Jake O'Sullivan. Of course, one was very early doors. And then the other one was a non-mandatory under safety car. Yori picks up a penalty. Ben Shaw all the way down in P11 along with Corey. They are complete and good to the end. Arnaud, I believe, also good to the end, but I could be wrong on that. As we see Casper make a pit stop here, and this will complete his strategy. So they're getting it out of the way before it becomes that sort of risky time where a safety car could come out. Jake O'Sullivan up to 3rd. Kieran stays out in 2nd. Khalifa, who has it all under control, you would think, in P1, on his way perhaps to another race win. It would be number 15 if he does it. Remember, the record is 19, held by Jamie Wright. Hopefully we get him back next season. Also, interestingly enough, we may even get him next week in commentary, but who knows? Yori, another penalty, and there's yellow flags.
Oh my god, Corey and Casper just fighting away. Corey on the fresher set on the more worn set of softs, which is going to be beneficial in this situation, but towards the end it's going to be Casper who has an advantage. These guys are fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Basically Casper came out side by side with Corey out of the pits, and yeah, side by side through the first 2 corners. But something else I want to bring your attention to, OKK and Gareth are fighting away, albeit it is P5 on the track.
But don't
P5
forget,
on track, but not actual positions.
Don't forget that Gareth spun OKK earlier on.
Yeah.
So I wonder if OKK has kept that receipt, because he is closing in on the back of Mr. Hall now, eliminated from Mexico 4 seasons in a row. To the outside goes Michael OKK. Can he hold it in there? Around the outside, Gareth gives him a nudge, but OKK has the inside line. Is that move done as Gareth will regather the inside line for this turn 3? They're still fighting away, and I think OKK's done it, but Gareth up the inside in turn 4 and thinks better of it. So that is a good move done and complete by Michael OKK for P4 in the Cup Series on its debut in Qatar. Meanwhile, Kieran leads the way, still waiting to make a pit stop, as is Jake O'Sullivan. Pete Knighton has made his, so he is going to the end on those mediums. Maybe we might just get a Pete Knighton win, and wouldn't that throw a spanner in the works? It's been 122 racing weeks in the Cup Series since we last saw Pete on the podium, and at the moment he is in the box seat to win this one, because don't forget, though, top 2, they have to pit, And there's 7 laps to go as Kieran comes round to complete another lap. He is, you get the feeling, goal hanging for a safety car. But it is starting to fall the way of Pete Knighton. And I'm going to say no more on the situation.
Just going back on board with this battle for 4th on the track. Gareth has DRS. He is using the ERS, and he's just going to make light work of this move. Oh.
That was a lot easier than when it was the other way around.
Yeah, unfortunate that KK has lost the position, as I'm sure that everyone watching absolutely loved when OKK got past Gareth, and they absolutely despise that Gareth has got back past him.
And this will be boring for you. Here comes Khalifa. Okay, just lets him go. Not worth the fight. That Khalifa at the moment is the biggest rival to Pete Knighton to win this race. That's a rivalry from years gone by. But Gareth won't make his life easy. You know he's going to defend super hard. Let's see what happens here in Sector 2. We'll stay on board with Khalifa. Will he throw his nose up the inside? Don't forget, Khalifa already in the Championship 5. But he's eyeing up around the outside of Gareth Hall. Does he think better of it? Yes, he does. And Gareth goes defensive and hard to the inside. But it's only a matter of time now before the DRS comes into play. And Khalifa is just waiting and waiting for his moment. OKK is having to do his own defending on Ben Shaw.
Ben Shaw is, yeah.
This is potentially for a race win as well, and there's contact. Ben Shaw, has he lost any wing there? I don't think he has. He might have got away with it. Kieran Pitts from the lead, and Pete Knighton is 5 seconds behind Jake O'Sullivan, but the gap between him and Khalifa, look at this, Gareth Hall in contact with Khalifa in turn 1. And the gap is 7 seconds between Pete and Khalifa. Is Khalifa
look at this,
going to ruin Pete's day?
Just look at this train that has formed from Gareth, just defending for his life.
All the way down.
Corey, Casper, Ben, OKK, and Gareth.
Corey having to make lines up in turn 6 there, but does this have tears written all over it? Ben Shaw looks to make a move on Michael OKK, and through he goes. This race is coming alive with 5 to go. Gareth Hall next on the line. Can Ben go and hunt down Khalifa, who's trying to hunt down Pete Knighton? Jake O'Sullivan has to make a pit stop, and Arnaud de Grief is currently in a window which would see him advance to the Championship 5. Jake Pitts. Pete Knighton will take the lead. Gareth will pick up a penalty, and Ben Shaw is through. Casper now is next in line to get through. A pesky Gareth as he finally pits on lap 24. Pete Knighton, race leader, lap 24. Corey, P6. He needs to make moves. He needs to win this race to have a shot at the title next week. And the order is starting to finalise itself. Pete Knighton, the last joker of the season in P1. Can he pull off the impossible and win for the first time in 122 weeks? That's over 2 years, but don't forget, we've had summer breaks, we've had winter breaks. It's been 3.5 years since Pete Knighton last won a race in JACKOCAR. It's been so many times before. He won on the road in Baku before a penalty meant Mike Kelterborn got through. He held up the likes of Corey Dalton and Jamie Wright to ensure that Sullivan Lewis could win a race in Austria all those years ago. He's crashed out a handful of times. He also won Saudi Arabia up until the final 100 metres when he gave it to me in the Kia Series. But Pete Knighton is 4 laps away from making a magical, historic moment in JACKOCAR. It's been oh so long since he's got there, but the gap between him and Khalifa is closing rapidly. What sort of defence will we see from Pete when the time comes? You may remember Brazil, Season 3, when he put Khalifa on the grass. There's going to be drama here. This will not be the easiest move Khalifa's ever had to make, and I'm sure it will bring Ben Shaw and Casper back into it. Corey is still part of this train as well. By the way, Arnaud ahead of Jake O'Sullivan. That's the key one. As it stands, Casper and Arnaud go through. Danny Quinn.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I was going to pick up on after Jake had come into the pits, the fact that the next car directly ahead of him is Arnold.
Unbelievable,
so
isn't it?
2 seconds, well, about 2 seconds to make up in his last few laps. The fastest lap goes to Risky. So that could be a point that Jake could desperately need right now.
We're going to have to go away from it. We'll keep Jake and Arnold in mind at the moment. It's all about Khalifa and Pete. It's maybe not going to be the dream that Pete envisioned a handful of laps ago. Khalifa in the DRS window. And there's going to be 3 laps to go at the end of this one. Let's go on board with Khalifa. He is flying, but he's also burning up those tyres. We're going to get a late safety car, are we? Yellow flags for a spinner. It's Waze that spun around. He won't win this race. And the gap is 0.2 of a second as Khalifa hunts down Pete Knighton then. How much defending will you do? He's going to push him onto the grass. It's classic Khalifa and Pete. And there's more. And Pete's in the wall. And Pete's out of this race. And that could well be a penalty for Khalifa. Oh, we're going to get a late safety car. I think we might get away with it. It could be too late. But Khalifa and Pete down the main straight. You knew it was going to happen. You knew there was going to be contact. And it's absolutely what we got. And what's happening behind Danny Quinn? You've muted yourself again. Arnold still ahead of Jake.
Jake's got a puncture.
Jake's got a puncture. The season 5 and the season 7 champion has a puncture. Who would have thought it would end like this?
He ran over the debris from Pete's incident, and he's got a front left puncture.
That is unbelievable. Lap 27, it's all kicked off here. Gareth goes through, Waze goes through. And Arnold de Grief, who come in +1, may just make his way to the Championship 5. He still has to finish the race. The yellow flags are still flying. There's action all over the place. Here's OKK, who's just gone through his teammate. And Jess is up next. And then there'll be Yuri a long way back in P15. Still running, though. Khalifa 5 seconds clear. And should there be a late race penalty? Yeah.
Look at his bow for second.
This potentially, Danny, this could be for the race win if there's a penalty handed out to Khalifa. But who is going to win the race for P2?
Corey.
I'm sure, well, say no more, because if Corey wins, then it would knock Arnold out. Because Casper is in P2. But that all depends on Khalifa getting a penalty. So who knows what's going to happen. Drama to the very end. It's lap 28, another spin for Jake. And what a shame for him. On a day where, or a season where he wanted to become the first man to go back-to-back championships in JACKOCAR. It's not going to happen. He needs a miracle. So does Corey. Casper's clinging on to P2, but the fate of Khalifa is unknown, and Ben Shaw in the mix. Arnold is too far away to win this race. Khalifa overtakes a struggling Jake O'Sullivan. Let's go back on board as we look back from Casper then. Oh, I just want to see Arnold make his way through past Jake. We're not going to get any dirty tactics, are we? It wasn't Arnold's fault. He does have to lift, though. And Arnold weaving to, I dare say, apologise. Here is Khalifa. It's going to be 1 lap to go here in Qatar. But should there be a penalty, this is for the race win. Corey needs to win this race. And through he goes, but so does Kieran. A man who needs 17 points on Ben Shaw. Let's go off board in turn 1. Kieran is fighting it all the way. Brilliant drama from Corey as he pushes Kieran wide. Perfectly legal on the final lap. Casper's slipped away. So has Ben Shaw. Let's go on board with Kieran, because you never know what could happen between these two. There is history here. You may recall Japan. You may recall Mexico. 2 of the league's hotheads fighting over P2. It could become a P1. You just do not know. Khalifa's way up the road, nearly 6 seconds. Pete Knighton out of this race. Jake O'Sullivan P15 as it stands. Arnold and Casper will go through with Ben Shaw, Ben Harrett and Khalifa El Khalifa in Las Vegas to fight for a title. Does Kieran have enough? Can he stay inside the window? Yellow flags. It's for a slower car. What's happened? Is it Ben Shaw's got a puncher. He's out of fuel, sorry. Ben Shaw is out. It'd be another position for Arnaud. It doesn't matter. I'd say Ben Shaw is through. But if Kieran can get the right exit here, can he get Corey on the line? The Championship 5 could be made up of what happens here on the final lap. Khalifa wins. No, he doesn't. He slows down. He's going to let Corey win the race. But here comes Kieran on the line. And penalties apply. Casper wins the race. Does he? Khalifa wins the race. I have no idea, Danny, what's just happened.
Well, right. Technically, no, I think because it came up saying Kieran had a penalty, he had a 20-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I think he might have a case of getting that removed because it was due to Khalifa slowing down. If he gets that removed, he finishes second. And if Khalifa gets a penalty for crashing out Pete, Kieran will win the race.
And Ben Shaw is 7th. So that would be 10 points. It's not enough. Kieran has not done enough. So Ben Shaw is chase champion. That is guaranteed. Khalifa was already in the Championship 5. Ben Harrett was already in the Championship 5. As the results stand, as you see them on the screen, Casper and Arnaud advance. Jake O'Sullivan is out of it. He will not defend his title. And I believe that's how it will end.
Yeah, I think it is.
Arnaud was weaving over the line as if he knew he had advanced. But happened to wait for a recovering Jake O'Sullivan. His championship reign is over for another season. He finishes P15. But what an incredible end to another JACKOCAR race. That is surely one of the classics. And we still don't know what's happened.
Yeah. We'll have to wait for all the stewards to come through because got no idea.
Not a clue. Danny Quinn, give us a rundown of the order, please.
Yes, these are the results on track. We have Khalifa in P1 with Casper P2 and Corey rounding off the podium in P3. Then Arnaud in P4. Great recovery drive for him starting P18. We have Kieran in P5. Wace in P6. Very good result there for Wace. Ben Shaw in P7. Gareth in P8. Deck in P9. And Michelle coming up from 14th to 10th.
Yeah, and then you got Jess finished 11th, OKK 12th. Risky Sullivan on his 100th start in the Cup Series actually did DNF. Yori finished the race, and so did Jake. So it does actually bump Yori up to 13th and Jake up to 14th. Not that it makes too much difference. Pete Knighton ended his race in the wall. The old rivalry of Pete and Khalifa come back out, and it was fascinating to see, but I'm sure not very nice to be on the end of. Leroy, Mike and Jamie were the other retirements. 19 car grid tonight because no Connor Byers, and we're going to have to go and debrief what happened there. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe it is Khalifa, Ben Shaw, Ben Harrett, Arnaud de Grief and Casper Klein that are going to be fighting for the Championship 5 on Thursday night. But just in case it's not, keep in touch with the JACKOCAR socials throughout the evening to see what happens. Because, Championship 5 build-up. Championship 5 build-up comes to you live from 5 p.m. on the 14th of December. That's next Thursday, followed by the Cup Series Championship 5 race in Las Vegas. But of course, before that, you have me, Quinn, Waze, Jess and Lesty all fighting it out in Spa for the Kia Series Championship 5. What a race. What a classic. JACKOCAR at its best. We're going to leave it there. See you next week.
See you.